After the end of Season 7 of the Clone Wars, the future of Star Wars seems to be a mystery. We are going to be getting Season 2 of The Mandalorian and The Bad Batch, but what could we be getting afterwards? While it may take some time before we know exactly what we're getting from this newly reformed Lucasfilm, here are some story ideas that I think would be nice to get in a new Clone Wars style animation. The first story is the story of Count Dooku. It would show us how he trained Qui-Gon, left the Jedi Order, and eventually fell to the dark side when he became Darth Sidious's apprentice. Through this story arc, we will see Dooku begin recruiting different systems to the Confederacy of Independent Systems, how he used Sifo-Dyas as a means to create the clone army, and how he hired Jango Fett. It would also be nice to see some of Jango's backstory on screen, like when he defeated multiple Jedi in hand-to-hand combat. Furthermore, seeing Jango making arrangements with the Kaminoans to receive a clone as his son would be interesting, as well as him and the other Mandalorians training the first batch of clones. All of this is basically how the Clone Wars started and how the Sith were able to basically put things into motion to lead up to it. So it would be interesting to just see this on screen with the Clone Wars animation. Now, the next stories I think that are worth being told are more Clone Wars stories. I feel like we got a lot of content in the Clone Wars, and it was very enjoyable, but personally, I feel like there are plenty of stories we didn't get that would be very interesting. For example, what happened to Boba Fett right after Attack of the Clones? Where were the Clone Commandos during most of the Clone Wars? What other missions were Jedi assigned to that weren't always war-related? And why did we never get to see the Galactic Marines on the screen? Also, we never get to see Anakin get knighted by the Council, but for that event, I consider the original Clone Wars scene as canon, but it would still be nice if they made it official. Along with Anakin being knighted, it would also be nice to see him get the 501st directly from Palpatine as his own clone legion to lead, and it would be cool to see him meet Rex for the first time. Basically, with these stories, they can continue to fill in the gap between episodes 2 and 3, because the Clone Wars has some of the best character arcs in history, and there will always be more to add to it. So the next storylines I'm going to talk about are the Dark Times, and this is something I've wanted for a long time, and I would love for them to actually make it. So this is a storyline that will take place directly after Revenge of the Sith. It will be a series that shows exactly what Darth Sidious commanded his clone armies to do right after the Clone Wars, making them put down any and all resistance against the newly formed Empire. Now, it won't just be about the clones, it would also be about senators, citizens, bounty hunters, and everyone who lived through this time. Now, I know we already got Star Wars Rebels, which is technically, I guess, during the latter stages of the Dark Times, but still, I feel like that show was semi-dark, but it just didn't get dark enough. Like, you would have some random scenes where people were getting killed, one guy got thrown into a furnace, and just, I guess, some dark scenes here and there, but it just didn't feel as like gritty and as dark and as bad as like the Clone Wars did. So it would be nice if we could kind of go more in depth in the Dark Times, especially if it takes place directly after Revenge of the Sith. And because the war would have just ended, the Imperials would look just like the Republic. So it would be cool seeing familiar faces like Commander Cody, Wolf, Bly, Admiral Yularen, and any other former Republic officials serving the Empire. Would be very interesting to watch. They can even show us how Rex got Wolf to remove his inhibitor chip. The series finale could be when the Kaminoans use their own clone army to try and resist against the Empire, but when it fails, the Emperor makes sure to cease the production of clones and to turn to human recruits. Now, based on what we see in Star Wars Rebels, I guess it would make sense that this was kind of like closer to the end of the war, or closer to the end of the war, just after the end of the war, obviously. But basically, that would make sense. It can go more in depth with how the Empire slowly strips non-humans of their rights, and basically just how the Empire came to be. It can go a little more in depth than Rebels, because Rebels didn't exactly go that far in depth, in my opinion. And it can also show us how good Imperials like Admiral Yularen and some other characters were convinced to stay along with the Empire, at least until the destruction of the Death Star. So I feel like with this time period, there aren't really any limits because it at least has like 15 years before the beginning of Star Wars Rebels. So the next Star Wars story that I think would be great for them to animate, and this one has to be the best one in my opinion, and this is the New Republic time era. If the Dark Times is about how the Empire ruled after it came to be, the New Republic will be about how the New Republic ruled after it came to be. We will get to see how the new government forms, the new Jedi Order, and how they tried to repair the damage done by the Empire over the past 23 years. The main reason why I believe a series like this would be very important is because it has a chance to undo everything done by the sequel trilogy by Disney. There is no way that Star Wars can take as many risks with future Star Wars stories if episodes 7 to 9 remain canon. I just feel like the stories that were told in the sequel trilogy just ruin some fundamental parts of Star Wars, like the Force. They kind of repeat the old plot, and I just feel like it's just really hard for future Star Wars stories to just continue the story and keep giving us good Star Wars content. Now, since I'm assuming these stories would be animated like Season 7 of the Clone Wars, it would be very easy to have Luke, Han, and Leia be the main focus once more. I believe Luke and Leia would be the one with bigger roles because Luke will be in charge of training the next generation of Jedi, and Leia would be in charge of spearheading the New Republic into the future. As for Han, I believe he could be a high-ranking officer in the New Republic. With the new Jedi Order, the story can be similar to the original expanded universe, where the surviving Jedi come out of hiding and help Luke to build the new Order. I think it would be fantastic if one of the older Jedi who helped Luke in building the new Jedi Order was Ahsoka. She knows firsthand the problems with the old Jedi Order and how they lost their way. Her knowledge and experience as Anakin's former apprentice would be key for the new Jedi Order. It would be cool if she taught Luke because it would be similar to him getting training from Anakin. Together, they can train the next generation of Jedi. The New Republic would focus mainly on defeating the last parts of the remaining Empire, then dealing with any new threats in the galaxy. This is another time period where Lucasfilm can basically do whatever they want, but only if they erase the sequel trilogy from canon. So those are the eras of Star Wars I would like to see explored in future Star Wars content and in the Clone Wars style animation. So I guess you can say this is kind of like my wish list for the next content of Star Wars. And I see no reason for them not to use the Season 7 animation to Clone Wars again, especially with all the hard work they've put into it. Also, I think a New Republic show can benefit greatly with the Season 7 style animation, especially if it was to feature the old characters once more. It would be similar to the Clone Wars in how we kind of get used to seeing characters as their animated versions rather than how they were depicted in the real life films. And I think that can benefit greatly because we already love the characters in the old trilogy, but I'd say in the prequels, even though I do prefer the prequels in terms of the overall story, not necessarily just the movies. I mean, Revenge of the Sith is my favorite, but the overall story in the prequels, it just opened up the Star Wars universe, and I like it more in that kind of way. But I feel like in the original trilogy, there is more that we can learn about the characters, like their personalities and what they do in like certain situations. And I think a New Republic show would be perfect for that. But as I said before, it would only work if they get rid of the sequel trilogy, because that trilogy, it didn't exactly do great in my opinion. But either way, tell me what you guys think of the video. Tell me what you guys think of the Star Wars stories I proposed. Would you guys like to see those stories introduced? Personally, I'm all for it. But if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and a sub. And remember, the Force will be with you, always.